Mấy tổ tạm bỡ chuyện hoa tạm bỡ đó. Xin nhìn nào, nhưng mà chưa bao, chẳng là đừng chưa bao giờ sang Việt Nam xin được. Chưa bao chưa bao nhiêu chuyện mà đâu. Ini anjuk ini yang karena itu anjuk kayak ini masuk. Itu sih. Ini anjuk. Oke, konon nanti. Kok ke sini? Itu berarti menduk. Ini sudah make yourselves comfortable on your cushions. Here we go, getting started slowly, comfortably. Yes. Jumbo, de shi bo da jumbo yang da ba zo be san ye ri bo da sha su de bo de wa ri she bo ji de je bo ji mu du be ka lo ju lang le bo la me na ge jumbo san ye jum de de je wa sha ye du du jiao zu je Trong đền để xin sang hoa đã trong bài an toàn số về sang ye rì bỏ đó xa số để bỏ để bỏ xe hoa chỉ đến để bỏ để vô để về phá lối kiểu lo ngàn để bỏ lao động để nào ye trong bài sang ye trong đền để cho hoa xa nhau thu bỏ nó cho giờ chưa đồ gia dụng Jumbo Jonden, the Shisha, Rajumbo, Yanda, the water Shiva, the Jamba, the wood, Kalo, Yuba, Lana, Neba, Adam, Bena, Jumba, Sanje, Jonden, the Yawa, Shaja, Tuba, Bani so shetan sa jin de la gomba dumburne mane jede de na so che so de je wa che la cha nanda gomba cho de so di je ja so se je ho da ta ba je de so na我去年这上南多点把前面老人少是多少我这这这那些把不那些娘们今年这个我不不接这电话
Page 3, to the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugatha, nor of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, a supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you, who were wise then, I prostrate. With pure body, form supremely pure, wisdom motion like a golden mountain, feminine places in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like the spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to distance, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime, pure reality, to that dharma which pacifies thy prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path of liberation, the holy field qualified with realization, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous action. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the book. A star, a mirage, the flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits, my sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the foe of false, and be delivered from samsara illusion, perturbed by waves of raging, sickness, and death.
Inje toba
Nambara
namba
yanda bara
taba
Jesu
jesu
tawo
tao
zu
zu
tomba
tomba
ni
ni
zu
su
zu
su
zu
su
le
le
tomba
tomba
ni
ni
shemayin tomba
tomba
ni
ni
le
le
kya
kya
su
su
shemayin
shemayin
non de
de
shen
shen
tu
tu
tsorwa
tsorwa
dan
dan
du
du
she
shi
dan
dan
du
du
she
shi
dan nambara
Nambara
sheba
sheba
na
na
tomba
tomba
u
u
jari
shari
bu
bu
te dar
teta
che
che
dam
dam
che
che
tomba
tomba
ni te tini
Tini
me
me
ba
ba
ma
ma
je
je
ba
ba
ma
ma
ga
ga
ba
ba
te
te
ma
ma
me
me
ba
ba
te
te
ma
ma
dan
dan
tre
tre
wa
wa
te
tre
wa
wa
me
me
ba
ba
ga
ga
wa
wa
me
me
ba
ba
o
o
Shari
shari
bu
bu
ande na
teta
we na tomba ni la su
So
me
me
tsorwa
tsorwa
me
me
du
du
she
shi
me
me
du
du
she
shi
na me
Nama
she ba
sheba
me
me
mi me
me
na
na
wa na
Na
me
me
je
je
me
me
lu
lu
me
me
yi
yi
me
me
zu
su
me
me
ja
ja
me
me
ji
ji
me
me
ro
ro
me
me
re
re
ja
ja
me
Che me do
mi
me
ge
je
kam
kam
me
me
ba
ba
ne
ne
i ge
ige
kam me i ge
Ige
nambara
nambara
she be
shebe
kam ge
kange
bar du
bato
kam
yam
me
me
do
do
ma ri ba
Mariba
me
me
ma ri ba
mariba
se ba
seba
me ba ne ga shi
Kashi
me
me
ga shi
kashi
se be
sebe
ba du
bato
yam
yam
me
me
do
do
de shen
Deshen
do
do
gong
donge
me wa da
wada
kun ju
kunju
mo go ba
Goba
dan
dan
la
la
me
me
yi shi
yeshi
me
me
do ba
doba
me
me ma doba
na
yam
me
me
do
do
jare
Shari
go
bo
de na
teta
we na jan ju
Chanchu
se ba
semba
na
na
to ba
toba
me
me
be
be
cher
cheru
shera
shera
ge
ge
paru
paru
du
du
chen ba la
Chemba
ten
ten
jin
jin
ne
ne
te
te
se ma
semba
te ba
treba
me chen ra ba me do jin ju lo le jen du
Kendo
de
tene
ne nyang en
nyangen
le
le
de be
debe
tar
tar
chin du
chindu
du
du
sun
sun
du
du
no
no
ba
ba
shu be
shube
sam je
sanje
dam
dam
je
je
kyang
kya shera je paru tu
chen ba
chemba
la de ne la na me ba yang da par zo be jang trup tu ngom par
Mumbar
zo
do
par
ba
sa
sa
ye
je
zo
so
de da we
dawe
na
na
shera
shera
ge
je
paru
paru
du
tu
chin be nga
chembe nga
ri ba chin be nga la na
Lana
me be
mebe
nga
nga
me yang ba
minya
na
bada
nyam be
nyambe
nga
nga
dong e
Tunga
tan je ra
tanjera
du
du
shi war
shivar
che be
chebe
nga
nga
me zung
Mize
we na
tunga
de par
teba
she par
sheba
ja de shera
Shera
ge
je
paru
paru
du
du
chin be
chembe
nga
nga
me
me
ba da
pataya
ya da
nga
ga de
Gade
ga
gade
de
para
me
gade
ba
para
na
Bude yesu Jare bo
Jonju
chajo
Zembo
sembo
Zembo
sembo
Jimbu
jembo
Nenda
Neta
Shira
shirab je
Kiparu
paru
Du
du
Jimbo Dombo
Sambo
La
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 Para
bara
Jawu
chawo
Dene
Ene
Jumden
chumden
De
de
Tengen
tengen
Zen
zen
Dele
Dele
Shinde
shende
Janju
chanju
Zembo
sembo
Zembo
sembo
Jimbu
Baba
Papa
jere
Jene
ze
Se
onju
Wanju La
la
Leso
leso She
She
chawa
Jawa
jeme
Jinji
leso
Legzo
leso
Legzo
Riki
Riki
bu
Bu
tete
Dede
shino
Shino
tete
Dede
shinde
Jinde
chere
Jidar Kyuki
Temba
Demba
shindo
Shinde
shira
Debe
je
Kiparu
paru
Du
du
Jimbo
Jembo
Samola
samola
Chebar
cheba
Jate
chate Tishin sheba namja
Jesu
jesu ye
Rongo Jongden
Tunden tege
Negi
tege
Negi
che
Cheka
ka
Zene
Sedan
Tsedan
temba
Tempa Shara
shere
Dade
Dade
Budan
Budan
Jongju
Shonju
Zembo
Zembo
Zembo Jembo Baba
Baba jere
Jimbe
se
Se Wanchu
onju
Dan
namje
Zemje Dan
dan
Demde
tembe
Koru
koru
De
de
Da
da
Dan
da
Adam
me
Me
da
Dan
lama
Lama Yesan Jise
Sa
Jibe
jebe jiten
Jiden Yiran
yirange
Jomden
chomden
Degi
deji sumba
Sumba Zamun
Ngomba
Parete
de do
Page 11. Thus I have heard, once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgriha on Vulture's Peak, together with a great assembly of monks and bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was totally absorbed in the concentration that examines all phenomena, called profound illumination. And at the same time, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, was engaged in the profound practice of the wisdom Gambyan, analyzing the five aggregates by nature. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra spoke to the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, how should those of good family learn who wish to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, replied to the Venerable Shariputra, saying, Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of good family wishes to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, to look at it like this, analyzing the five aggregates, five nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is no other than form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, karmic formations, and consciousness are all empty. Therefore, Shariputra, all phenomena are empty without characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are neither impure nor free from impurity. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no karmic formations, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no tongue, no body, no mind. There are no spheres of the eyes up to no spheres of the mind. There are none of these all the way up to the sphere of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, nor is there destruction of ignorance. There are none of these all the way up to there is no old age and death, nor is there destruction of old age and death. Thus there is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, and no path. There is no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, all bodhisattvas hold to the wisdom gone beyond. And because there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond falsity, they reach beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times by relying on the wisdom gone beyond, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, most perfect and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the wisdom gone beyond, the mantra of great insight, the unequaled and unsurpassed mantra, the mantra that calls all suffering, should be known as the truth, for there is no deception. The mantra of the wisdom gone beyond is proclaimed. O Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva, Mahasattva, should learn the profound wisdom gone beyond. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and praised the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, very good, O son of good family. It is exactly like that. The profound wisdom gone beyond should be practiced exactly as you have said, and then the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the whole gathering in the world with its gods, men, anti-gods, and spirits, their hearts full of joy, praise the words of the Blessed One. So in the noble discourse on the essence of wisdom, so then this morning, Sunday, April the 2nd, we resume our Dharma exposition. This is an exposition of the meaning of the Buddha Dharma. So then the Dharma, when we speak of Dharma, if we cut right to the chase, is a way of altering, changing, and improving a situation. This is the heart of the explanation of Dharma, that ordinarily, though we speak of external dharmas, internal dharmas, and the rest, the Dharma is essentially the process of altering and improving the internal mind and finding whether one is able to do so or not.
Oh, yeah, that is the Indu, and it doesn't Jebudelaya, Jebudidumis, and the water to any single Langani, that Garangate virus. Just that Jebud the water to any singing, and it the water in Bainayang, and Chile music part, the water take you water. To me, the in Bainaya, me changing to round, to me take you, but the leg is with your Maresti, as they do college in Bainayang, and it rang is sent the Jawayuba. Rangi samlo tangdang yapochik sangbo chungwa yapo chungwa yina jibu dewa yobada. Rangi samlo tangdang de tata majungwa che sangbo majungwa yina ani jibu dungen singit. Tako langa digan roku yore sumbuchi.
So then there are two results, pleasure and displeasure. It's not as though, however, others give to one the displeasures that they experience and others give to one pleasures they experience. In actuality, one's own mind determines pleasure as an experience, determines displeasure as an experience. And insofar as a mind is competent and fairly able to comport itself well, then it knows pleasure. When it does not comport itself well, fairly, then it experiences the result of displeasure.
오예. 이제 인도서 맞다. 만족이 군족 승인디 아니지 거기 나라도 롱백이 뽑고 저 예부들 거 저. 치 미지고 뒤랑이 뒤돌로 저 왕줄 주고 되게 삼어지어디 말했다 아주 군족 승인디 아니 다 랑이 셈다 저 이거던 랑을 셈라야 오케이 다 주주 땅 통이 된대지 내주도 더 아니 군족 승인디 켈레 말렌세 내주도 된대지 더 연구여래서
So then when we speak of the supreme and the sacred, though we may think of it instinctively as something like a minister or an officer, a president with power to confer things upon us, it's nothing of the sort. In actuality, it is the mind and involved in the mind. Whether the mind is able to alter and improve itself or not, insofar as it is able, then we may speak of the supreme and the sacred in that respect. And this is the position that we accept, or others may not accept.
오예. 다 된대 인도 잠바다 유진 가르쳐 버렸으나 랑이 셈 삼로 땅다 랑이 셈디 아니 삼로 땅다 상보 야부 중화이나 제부 대화 연구 요바다 랑이 삼로 땅다 너르바이나 아니 제부 동해 연구 요바디 다 되게 니줄 때네 아니 다 가르쳐 버렸으나 다 뭐만 남 냠술랑 딜랑 제부 삼로 상보 땅네 제부 대화 냠술랑 삼로 냠바다는 제부 동해 요바디 파 삼로 빵 투니기 아니 뭐만 내가 제 사줘도 아니 다 고조 제부 토바를 될 군조 명다 되게 가르쳐와대 랑을 빼랑네 냠술랑야 요바 어디지 제내는 가서 냠내 지고 요래서
Then this is the justification for the mind itself and the process of altering and improving the mind such that its comportment confers upon oneself the experience of contentment and satisfaction. And wherever the mind is not well comported, it is making mistakes and its attentions are improper, then it experiences displeasure. This is the framework of understanding. And there are those who have followed this and implemented just this, and in their path of practice, they have fostered comportments of mind that lead to satisfaction and pleasure, and they have become exemplary in their method. They are examples for us that we look to as models.
오예. 다 된대 인도 다 말아서 가르쳤다 가르쳐래서나 다 나족이 수수 라니 군조 제약 되어봐요나 군조 지투비하게 차진 여봐 아니 랑게 바게 람냠네 말랑 받잖아 랑 군조 다 윤대 랑 토기 매봐 인도 라니 군조 차기 매봐 어 된대기 내주고 토네 다 나서 람냠수 랑세야겠다 좀버티 용비여래서
So then, when one would make for themselves their own mind as the sacred and the supreme, then, and in this one has every means and foundation for doing so, but where one may fall short and not come to possess the great qualities that would follow from doing just this, we have a situation in which there is a path of practice available to us, and we may choose to adopt and take up this path.
오예. 다 된대 인도 다 굉장히 가르쳐 버렸으나 다 제부 대화 유나양 랑기 쇠바다 제부 동해 이마이나양 랑기 쇠바 어디 어쳐야 그다라 아니 다치 낭제다 치제다 세야게 간다다 대시 디토는 야바 인도 잠바다 다당가서 가르치게 어서나 아니 낭치부터네 아니 시 남샤되다 대시자게 요래서
So then, results that are satisfaction, that oneself is responsible for them. Results that are dissatisfaction, that oneself is only responsible for them. This distinguishes the dharma, but the dharma as an internal process of practice, distinguished from an external one.
오예. 다 단단한 쪽을 대시제 산지다 조의 시 가르쳐다 남바 산지다 단도 또 샤제 투바 되기 송백이 출 오, 다 딜레 시주네. 아니 가서 다 셈비 남샤 조당 시기요래 손으시노.
So then, with this basis of the internal process of the Buddha Dharma, following from the very vachana of the Buddha, the very word of the Buddha, gives us the basis and foundation for a psychology.
오, 예, 다 가르나 다 딜레 셈비 다 수비고 단다 봐도라 셈비 나와. 셈도 삼로 땅다 마디고 삼로 땅마 마디고 왕기 아니 셈 나와 바자 망고 샤여 봐. 안 단다 삼로 삼로 땅다 마디고 되게 파세. 다 삼로 땅다 제부시잖네. 아니 삼로 교와스 땅네 삼로 상고스 땅 셈바 상고스 땅 아니 진중으로 다 지금 레게 간다 바게 수수고 삼로 땅다 가도 있는 만나로 지토를 나가지도 로트야게 아니 탑시지라 라비아게 치돌라 아니 다 쳐라 랍세야게 다 아니 치도 가지고 당기 여래 손으로
Up until this moment, habits of mind, inclinations, patterns have established a way of behavior for each of us that we may improve, alter, treat, so that our actions and our very mentality improves for us. And there's a methodology, and that methodology is the Buddha Dharma, and we may adopt this Buddha Dharma with that end in mind of the improvement of the mind.
오, 예, 다 이제 인도도 뭐다 가르쳐 버려서 다 맞아 라비아게 다 산제게 숭 망고시다 망고여 탕마 강갈로 추 뒤니 아니 나람 안돼 추 뒤나 아니 시 남샤스 직시고래 아니 람기 남샤스 직시그래 아니 제비 남샤스 어디서 나로 뒤니 아니 제시 잡아래서
The Buddha Vajana is very vast, but may be condensed into three parts: the presentation of the basis, the presentation of the path, and the presentation of the result.
어, 예, 다 이제 인도 안다 당고 시 남샤디야 뭐 마셔나 아니 람기 남샤 줄게 뭐 말해 람기 남샤디 람기 랑마토나 아니 제비 남샤 토비야 요 말제다 당고 시 남샤디 예 지금은 시어에서 무슨
Without an adequate understanding of the basis, there'll be no progress upon the second part, the path. Without any progress in the second part, the path, there will be no finding of the third part, the result. So in the beginning, sufficient understanding of the basis is required.
어, 예, 시 남샤 생에디 아니 시 템바니 있어 템바니 나파 dü니 아니 냠스다 아니 시 남샤 고츠 야 오지 선나는 게 봐지 아니 시 남샤 템바니디 마투버체 아니 라비아텔라 아니 라비아텔라 람 탑시 니스 람델라 탑시 니스 탑다셔라 니스 람 탑다셔라 니 냠즈 람발라 때는 제부 아니 추구다 수구스 어다 무슨 남제 남샤 대용 거래 손으로
The presentation of the basis entails two truths that must be comprehended, carefully discerned, and afterward there should remain no confusion regarding the two truths. The two truths then inform two methods: the method and the wisdom, or two aspects, the method aspect and the wisdom aspect. Then these two, method aspect and wisdom aspect, informing practice and training, leads to two bodies: the Dharma body and the Rupakaya.
어, 예, 다 된대래. 제가 된대 이르다 봤다 시 남샤 생에데 남냠스 라야가 된다라 시기 남샤데 셰베 된다라 아니 다 간다 시기 남샤데 셰야가 된다라 아니 시디 된다 시디 잠바 아니 남장기 초랑 냠스 랑고야기 초기 에 냠내 제야기 투 랭고야 직 아니 바 도르고야 랑지 된대 데제니 셰야가 된다라 아니 대바 시기 남샤데 시기 오래 손으로
In training in the basis, for a comprehension of the basis, one abandons that which is to be discarded and adopts thoroughly pacified and purified dharmas.
Oh, yeah. Oh, then there is that the day to the mother, she namsha singing the any so that around the Kunzo Chu. Kunzo Chu around the Tachi Pagachigi, New Juda. Any chick Pageta, Langi Lula child and the Lu Pumbu Netan, the Zukangalo, Kunzo Church. Any church that the Netan Kari Imege, she Paganetante. Any Kari Ime Tandala, and it turned them the big Namshati. Oh, the tea, a watch rat trouble, 아니 시내다 남 탑시니 라비아기다 아니 라브도 잡아니 예바ton 라브도 받아 연구해서
In the understanding of the basis, what we speak of as the basis, one is to comprehend two phenomena involved, two kinds, the conventional or the obscuring phenomena. They are external physical characteristic, the constitution, physiology of the body, physical properties of matter, the rest. And then there's the actual situation or the mode of subsistence of phenomena generally, which is the ultimate presentation or the ultimate non-obscured phenomena. These two must be penetrated and understood.
Oh, yeah, and they induce them that so good dog chuggy, the language namshad so Yamso Layata, and it love it chidula, and it tub it chaggy. That lamb to get Yams Lango we are res. And it chuggy them you nilu get that shaping it, nilu shaping lamb yams along with chane, and that there were Nam Chanju Sem Yams Lay, oh, yeah, Zeta, Kunzo Chanju Sem that, Tandan Chanju Sems. Kunzo Chanju Sem saying it, so tub it chache, Tandan Chanju Sem saying it, so share of chache. Or Dini love me, and ya Langa ya the go resonance.
The practice and training, attending to conventional phenomena, utilizing conventional phenomena, is the method aspect. It is the aspect of conventional bodhicitta. Practice that addresses itself to the tata, the nature and subsisting reality that is the ultimate, is the practice of wisdom, ultimate bodhicitta. These two together allow a person to climb upward and onward in spiritual practice.
Oh, yeah, that did it. That's my Tabichada, language, Tabichada, and he share with Chani Yamsu Langwell Dene, so Tabjicha, and it needs about the Chanju Sem Yamsu Langwell Dene, so she did good to wear you dig the Sahuras. Oh, so good, she very good, so good at all. That in it, the Namji good Lamdi, that share with Lamla Lavala Dene, sugar, you dig it together, or do see the younger restaurant.
These two, the method aspect and the wisdom aspect, taking the method aspect first, the method aspect in the practice of Mahakaruna and Bodhicitta develops or leads to the achievement of the Rupakaya for carrying out the well-being of others. The wisdom aspect leads to the development of the Dharmakaya, the fulfillment of one's own purpose.
Oh, yeah, that in the big Laveg Lamna, that's Pedan Pejet, that's Sanjig sort of Mangche Lota, have the share of thing, Dochanan Chatior, said that the Nane, that Tandang to Lob Sentela, and Lamrim Shakoyati, Lamrim di, and Tiniga to Yams to Duni, Ribashegi or the Nane, so the most shared it, almost shared it, so Kunzo Bicha, and it Tabichadi, so watch in the shade. 아니 타고 차들어야 거기 차네 셔럽 차도 거기 유바이도 아니 탑시 뭐서 탑듯이 아니 셔럽이 거기 저다 거기 주된 도시에 아니 냠들도 시기 유바이도 아니 강가츠 두고 아니 그 가사 직 상지 남지 sem발이야 그 자르니 시기 유바이도 아니 되는 라브리디 아니 미스 냠네치도 잡은 냠슬랑 대회 차네 아니 오말로도 냠네 남스 냠도 람리도 냠슬 아야 네 시락 판도 친구 유바이서 데 송고 열에 송지
Dabdu di jang dene ani lamrim di jang hai. Labdu. Kundu.
Shirab labgun bar.
Kundu.
Lab chobadang.
Lab.
Tabicha.
Lab.
So almost dangerous. Shirab chadis the court tabi roast in
In the Buddha Vajana scripture and Shastra of the Buddha Dharma, the wisdom aspect and the method aspect are most of all everywhere present together. Here in the Great Treatise on the Stages of the Path to Enlightenment, two, both are present, condensed in one, though made explicit in the Great Treatise on the Stages of the Path to Enlightenment is especially the method aspect. Implied and present in the supporting role is the wisdom aspect. And both aspects are present, condensed together in the Great Treatise. One person in their project to achieve the enlightened state of Buddhahood has everything necessary at their disposal then. For ease of practice, for a ready application, they are condensed and present, both the method aspect and the wisdom aspect.
Lamla love go yuba indu zamba lamla labyagi. Sat lamla labyagi. Dala and want to karji boards. Not lamla labu zamba and that lamla labyagi tabdela tunda tunzam chene. Lava yina. Ani then love it tudi. Ani saju chimbo go kandasi lamla labu zamba lab deo. And it love it to the Tola Mando Chidula, tunda tunzam lave the kitchen in the sungi or
So then, in the training and implementation of the method aspect, for its furtherance, there are preparatory practices. These are the preparatory practices of the method aspect. They make for a utility, usefulness, and efficiency to the method aspect. And they are especially the organization of time into formal meditation period and period between formal meditation. So the formal meditation session and the period between formal meditation sessions. This organization of time prevents there being any waste of time.
Oh yeah, that in a tundi yabu yon chabala, that tundi yabu yon chabala, and it would tundi yon jiggy you, and it jove churup sing it yamne chico, di jovina, and it tundi.
For the success and efficiency of the formal meditation session, causes for success, for efficiency in it, the 6 preparatory practices are taught. When these are used, when these 6 preliminary practices are performed, then the formal meditation session will be productive. And furthermore, the period between meditation sessions will connect with it too.
Oh yeah, that tune la debar chebala, tambo tune la desagi. Susuki tune la desagi, ne kang, ne. Oh, then it digity yabu yona tendala, and joy che tambo de shake yours. That in a tune the tongue tenza ne kang the net to chatsani, and did not lose your check, you may. Carry the tongue with your medical shen, the joy che niba. That neganda net the Chang Chani, that's somebody and it rang lugit child by lugit, joba tendang. And it's Chukulung Jedang tell her this somebody we are responsible.
Then for the place where the formal meditation session occurs, that it be a proper sort of place, a supportive sort of place. The first preliminary practice concerns itself with just what is required in the place where the formal meditation session will occur. When what is required for that formal meditation session in terms of place is addressed, then the second preliminary practice concerning itself with what's necessary, what needs to be in such a place too. The second preliminary practice describes that, the arrangement of what ought to be present in such a place. And then with these two complete, then the posture of the body and the manner in which the mind prepares itself for meditation are described as the third preliminary practice.
다 되네 되게 강한 차차도 좀 많이 가르쳐서다 튜는 대바디 배 유버 친구 용야다 튜는 때도 좀 강의 친구 마용야 아니 튜인데 배 뒤도 유불을 하는 게 줄로 똑바게 투야가 된대기 치도록 아니 저저 시바 소신 세대바디 용비어를 손을
With these three preliminary rites performed, then, in order for the formal meditation session to have potency, for there to be as little hardship as possible, for realization to arise in the shortest time, as rapidly as possible. The fourth preliminary rite concerns itself with supplication of the merit field.
다 되네 똑바게 차네 똑바게 다 저주 시베 초신 서부터는 양기다 제부게 차와 되게 만냠만도 야 권의 유아 폐회 지도라 아니 튕긴다 소사고 소사베 지도라 아니 양라 두바게 냠는 제바이나 아니 다 거기 똑바게 예가다 관계자 소 손놈 사사바 되게 냠만도 권의 배야 된다 아니 저주 나봐 아니 양라도 봐 민대다 제바세야겠다 조정아바디 어디 가는도 단다 대시 얘기가 해서
When through the four preliminary practices with the merit field petitioned, the meditator has developed realization that that realization not be lost, but furthered, developed. The practice of accumulation is performed through the 7-branch offering, the Anuttara Puja. This is so that realization that has arisen, so that merit and autonomy that has been collected is not lost. So the fifth preliminary practice is the practice of accumulation through the 7-branch offering combined with the offering of the mandala.
다 그런데 대변 보면은 차기 표현다. 근데 차세요. 고바도 강갔다 차차가 그냥 이제 양라 두고는 당고 차차바래 어디 가든 땅 두다 보면은 친차바래스. 얘네 다 차세 표현디 아니 정주선비 줘발래 저니 아니 친구가 냠내도 전에 제바이나 아니 간대도 쳐버렸으나 오늘 어디 걸로 맞대지 마시고 인소.
Last week, we have already described the benefits of prostration, the reason underlying the practice of prostration. This we've completed once already. However, there remains some yet to be described in terms of the benefits of prostration, particularly in the application of prostration to the paramitas, the 6 paramitas. So how this may be done will be the content of what I share now.
다 차세야 되다. 먼저 변한 차치도 좀 받아 지배기 냠내라 자르니. 아니 자르바이나 답변은 차 랑기 세버로 랑기 차 세니 수수래. 이내 시엔라 랑기 차 세워 빼체네 시엔라 차 세도 주바. 아니 차 세워로 끄바. 어디가 갈로 아니 지배 버징이 냠내나라 되어 채고래 손지.
So then, as one prostrates, the person prostrating is oneself, and one does this oneself, yet it may too be for the purpose of getting others to do the same, so that others may prostrate and pay homage too. And when this is the motivation, this is an application to the paramita of generosity.
다디네 차 체주 말리버스가 차츠도 배 야구 마치버스 바빵 차츠도 야구 제버 차츠와데 란동기 란동기 튼도 콘에 튼데 삼바뽕 수수 란이 대와터베 치도로 아니 차츠가 그 삼바 중에 버스 바뽕한데도 아니 추름기 냠면 담아래 해서
And then as one prostrates, the mentality one might have as they perform prostrations, insofar as it is not constructive, is abandoned, namely the mentality or disposition to do things for one's own interest alone. This mentality, this self-interestedness, is abandoned insofar as it is during prostration. This is the application of prostration to ethical discipline, the second paramita.
다 되네 차트도 잠만도 직당 룰을 마대와 마다 아니 별로 까싱망고 깔레망고 제가다 아니 직 차도 돈을 들한게 지 룰을 마대와 영화 강가 쇠바체바데 딜러 당내 제바데라 아니 숨바 쇠베냐네 차고래 손지
And then
내가 당도 람바다 아니 랑게 마대와 저와다 샘 트루바 그 데게 온게 마송와 근데 제바저로 이건 쇠베냐네 당고래 손지.
And then as one prostrates, the body tires, as one faces some hardship entailed by prostration, that any and all unpleasantness going along with prostration not be allowed to perturb the mind, that one tolerate everything entailed in prostration. This is the practice of patience and tolerance, the third paramita.
다 차차올라 레로다 마가와 바빠는 차차올라 좀 가와 집어디 준주냐면서.
And then any hesitancy, any torpor, any laziness that would prevent one from prostrating, when this is eliminated, this is energetic discipline, the fourth paramita.
근데 다 차차였지. 다 미게베 쳐서 마당 그 차츠도 좀 많이 셈을 그 니모도 되자셔다들 오늘 마송와 셈 계획처럼 미국 제주도 때마다 땡해진 미국 냠내는 쪽으로 해서.
As one prostrates during the prostration, to ever and consistently incline the mind only to virtue, toward virtue, and never allow the mind to be moved in the direction of the non-virtuous, the desirous, the aversions, and the ignorant frames of mind. This is samadhi, concentration, the sixth paramita. Fifth paramita.
근데 두 번째 차 체계다 차다. 아니 체약의 유가가 라심해봐. 근데 또 라심해봐 이번에 삼로 땅도 직제. 아니 차 체나 편유여 봐봐. 참 제주 야고마체는 이미 이번에 나 남주기 싫어고 봐. 차 체나 편유도 마세봐다. 아니 차 제주 야고마체는 이미 이번에 삼바도 아니 또 들으스 싫어고 버지냐. 버지 두고 그냥 저거를 해서로지.
As one prostrates to that phenomena all lack intrinsic nature, no intrinsic nature at all. This recognition for one is wisdom. So too, that prostration involves benefits, that there are drawbacks to a failure to paying homage and prostrating. This is intelligence and understanding in the person. That awareness, sustained awareness of the benefits and drawbacks of certain practices. This is wisdom and understanding. These two, absence of intrinsic nature and an awareness of benefits and drawbacks, are the wisdom paramita.
저는 차트도 전도 미국 현치고야 계산하고 직권도 쉬워요. 뭐 랑이 깨와 통만에 단다버도 깨와 만족 강가 아니 맛이 된 거예요. 미삼바다 랑이 차트도 대강가 냠도 차색이 요데 미국 제직 하면은 심지 탐제 그 바다 맞지 강가 탐제 랑이 심지 탐제 도와를 주고 심지 탐제 랑이 냠도 차세는 랑이 구마체는 쟤는 차세 주고 요데 미국 제 차세가 있나 아니 차 직세도 차 장마면 장매에 된데 차세 편유여 봐. 그래서 공부시 차이 봐서.
As I've already said, one thinks that up until this very moment, I have taken countless rebirths. Every one of these countless rebirths is my idea of those engaged in prostration along with me. All together, all sentient beings together, innumerable as my countless rebirths, are prostrating together. All sentient beings, all of whom have been mother and father to me, so all mother and father sentient beings are all here together, all of them from the 6 realms of being, showing the aspect, the features of the human being, are prostrating together here along with me. And my prostration is the encouragement for them to prostrate, in fact, and thereby, thinking along these lines, one prostration is in actuality innumerable prostration.
Oh, yeah, that in any but Chebaris, Chebeyana, that Chebeyana, she said, and George Bagata, the Sanju Marana, Yavana, Medota, Maton, Tabata, singing on the Chuba to shoot the moment to do. Yawatitala and Chuba, Chuba on the Lamaja, that Jawat and Samuel, Yawakon, Chanze Cheber keys, or Tsikedi, or Jan Tsikedi, any direction was that Chuba, on the Chuba Pia, Chebeyala. The
first branch of the 7-branch offering, prostration, then is just that. We move to the second, presenting offerings, second branch of the 7 branches. And here, drawn from the King of Aspiration Prayers, the very Bodhisattva Charya of Samantabhadra, comes this verse: with the finest flowers, the finest garlands, the finest musical instruments, ointments, and parasols, the finest lamps, and the finest incense, I make offerings to those conquerors. With the finest garments, the finest fragrance, and with bundles as large as Mount Meru of aromatic powders, all in the finest of distinctive arrangements, I make offerings to these conquerors. With the unexcelled, extensive offerings, I also turn my mind to all the conquerors. By the power of faith in these pure activities, I prostrate and make offerings to all the conquerors.
Oh, yeah, that and they use Maranzo, that big Yamdo, Midi Jolape Yamdo, Yurt, Yurma, Yamdo, Juba, the Yamdo Sambo Yurt, and Meg, Cisati, and Chuba Sama Santa Zia Yubatile, and the Chojeta, and the Katambe Lamato, Yamshina, or could the call Yamdo Chimbo Yusare, call Yamdo Tum Yusare. Colope, Yamia said, any Chuba Sama Sana to the tag, and it's not much of some sweet or yes.
In the offering, adepts, supreme adepts of the path, Atisha, illustrious Atisha, and others, found the measure of a person's experience and realization, the measure of the degree to which one's comportment of mind had become excellent or had yet to become excellent, measured by offering itself, how such offerings are performed. Illustrious Atisha and others found in the offering practice the measure of everything in that respect.
Well, yeah, that's Shabas in the around the countries, no? Shabas in the order of the country, more the country in the showers, no? Shabat more of the countries, and it shows it, Shabas, Shabbat Namdra Mambo, you're cutting on the touchdown, Shabak Teshidi, but the Juju Nala Mambo Javiore, and it Georgi Niva Gadolayan, Shabak Teshis, Javiore. Yet I into some Shabak, Jesus, the Puni. And that Shabbat the Puva Latene. 아니 저거 배우라 때는다 가르쳐도 투규를 상맥이 되와 총소나 나 줘봐 세다 때문에 배우기 세해서 주변 모든 일을 해서
The natural quality of the offerings, the essence of the offerings, which involves offerings of many various substances, enumerated many different ways. There is the enumeration of offerings, possible offerings found in the Bodhicharya Avatar, the way of the Bodhisattva, as well as in the second of the preliminary practices, as we've described them already, that all of these substances given as offerings, when they confer upon the individual offering the experience of uncontaminated great bliss, that uncontaminated great bliss is the characteristic essence and nature of the offerings.
Oh yeah, that Chebagi Tribu Garu, Chobu Tribu Carrier is not 다 치고 제부 가르스나 제부 아니 롱주 나가들 랑아nye 바스다 제마 랑이 추바페 제부를 때문에 라니 마음바라 심지 탐직 여박강 두야 롱주 야침부 토바 랑다 신 탐직 되는 도토야게 롱주 야침부도 용토야게 인수강가 아니 추바페 제부 차요 그래서
Now the result of offering is the result of offering is to come to possess a store of goods to please and delight every wish of every sentient being so vast that it is greater than any treasury of space itself. So it is then that the result of offering is to come to possess a whole stockpile of that which brings pleasure and contentment to sentient beings.
오야 다 되지 다 되네 다 가르치게 돼서는 다 당만족의 처바 양라디 다 최백 양라다 면도다 뭐 청와다 뭐다 승인은 대가도를 가르치어서는 다 장주서 뭐 꾸도 상복이 아니 다 최백 처바 표월라 때네 아니 손놈 싸네 아니 다 장주서 줄라 제바다 되네스 베다 섬제 신기 된두두의 여백이 아니 다 밖에 물론 자단티 아니 가지고 뺄랑체네
What do we find here in the verses with the finest flowers, the finest garlands, the finest musical instruments, ointments, and parasols? But the Bodhisattva Samantabhadra's own charya, his own conduct, which was to offer in this manner, through offering in this manner, to come to possess autonomy and merit. With that autonomy and merit, to develop the mind of enlightenment. With that mind of enlightenment, the ability to achieve every end of every sentient being. This was the aspiration and the prayer implied in the verses. And so we take this aspirational prayer for this progression as our example here.
오야 다 가진 것도 소신 것들라 내가 또 빼줘선 셰여서 소신 것들라 다 간다는 것도 신상부지 여바 이나스 신들라 아니 수수다 로도 말아봐 담마도 같은데 로직 레바 이나 아니 가서 가르치기를 삼나 아직 이 땅에 달로 신가 따도 뭐도 답답 사서 용쇼 라송 삼는 것도 방법 셈날 배 여바지로 방법지기로 와서 어디 제기 여러 진짜 가르치는 게 말해서나 거 가는 그랑기 신들라 봐지 소연지 따르면 두 제부지 용을 하는 대두지 되게 요와 인자 대화지 마토가 인자 다 방법지기 여러 와서 어디 빼듯이 대티나 대이나스다 이제 이나스 아니 말아도 손남 소사서게 산지 신들라야 처밤마비 와다시 대대 제바이나 아니 다이 된도 따바 될래 용 야제자 망아라요 딜러 가르치는 방법지기 요 말해스 어디 빼든지 자세 손
Describing the merit field in terms of, through the simile of a fertile field available to be planted, fertile and available for planting. When such a field is left fallow, when the actual fertile field that would yield a harvest is left unplanted and fallow, then a year later at harvest time, a person will see that they have lost an opportunity and will feel disappointment and regret that they didn't take the opportunity to plant the fertile field. Why? Because they had the opportunity to yield a harvest for themselves that would have brought them well-being, but that opportunity was lost. This applies to the merit field. The merit field is a Buddha field. When one fails to make offerings to this fertile Buddha field, the loss is much greater than the loss one knows that when one fails to plant an actual field, the loss is much greater when one does not make offerings to the Buddha field.
근데 세상 다 가지고 빼나 가지고 신들 로또 마다비 깽기 아니 라라 로또 수 대부 마주웨기 아니 방바지 계기로 와 아니 직도 밖에 상부 마주가 방바지 계기래 어디에 방바리 망비게 여러 와서 해나신 다 나랑 쪽이 달랭 나랑도 다 처고 신 라야 아니 직들한게 저는 처바 마비보다 데들 간다하게 신기 그래서라다 마체발 데들 때네 아니 가르쳐도 빼는 아주 말한도라때 미진한다 말한도 지금 냠랭이 때 지원도 아니 가르쳐서 빼는 아주 데려왔다 다 아주 가장 아주 공신 다바시에 대한 아시레다다 간다 치마 된도니에 치마 펜젤라랑 게 대화 톱지게 된도 삼로마다나 아니 아주 내 가르쳐봐야 취해서 두고 말했어 지가 비와 지그래서 취해서 말하래스 아니 직시 다 되네 야스 마이나 랑기 코웨기 다 간쟁이 중기 삼바도지 마심바이나 아니 tarbe gyula dhugu mares. Ta nyingji chenpo gyugi masimba ina tamje kempe gyula dhugu mares. Odere 제가 가지고 냠내 지도 다 세치마 되니까 삼로 마다나 취를 두고 말해. 예중 그 삼배스마 맞으나 답에 줄을 두고 말해. 닝지 친구 그 맞습나? 아니 담제기 뭐 줄을 두고 말어 왔어. 제가 대제 제가 인도 잡아 맞고 있다. 간다 수족이 냠내 간지 제가 이나야. 치마 되니 좀 예벌도 좀 깨워서 총사라. 어디 소로서.
Yeah, gola, de leon. Ani nieba menra, ani namra menra kashi yobati, son zwa. Karere menra di.
알레디 벨랑도 지금 돈도 맞다 보이나 아니 라는 돈도 말아베기 방법이 여러 방법이 여러 아니 돈도 상보 맞으면 방법 여러
맞아.
아니 데리 다들 데리터리 가시 상당 쪽으로 와 대나 신경 안 좋다 거기 신기 다들 또 냠내지도 잡아야 아니 야라도 냠내 좀 맞이 봐이나 아니 아주 다 당부 취해서 맞아 근데 달바토지 귤라 맞아 담지 김바토 귤라 맞아 어디 어디 빼자 그래서
Depending on how one uses their field, if they fail to plant, then they'll find that they have no harvest at all. And there's that form of that kind of disappointment. There's another sort of disappointment if one doesn't plant well and the harvest is inadequate or not of good quality. So there are various forms of disappointment depending upon how one uses a fertile field available to one. Now, in the same way, too, with the field of the Buddhas, when one fails to make an offering to the Buddha field, consequences are and play out along the lines that I reiterate again and again. When our interest is solely in this life alone, and there's no consideration for lives to come, no matter what practice one undertakes, that practice is not the Dharma, for it is preoccupied with this life alone. Preoccupied with this life alone, there is no Dharma. So, as I reiterate again and again, this is one form of disappointment. Now, another too, without renunciation, there is no moksha, there is no liberation. So one would find that one hasn't achieved liberation. Furthermore, without mahakaruna, without great compassion, there is no achievement of enlightenment. So here we find preoccupation with this life prevents there from being the Dharma at all in the first place. Absence of any renunciation prevents the achievement of moksha, liberation. Absence of mahakaruna prevents there being any achievement of the omniscient state of Buddhahood. So these are like the field that yields variously nothing or inadequately. One finds the loss of results in this way.
호야 세상 다 되나 간다디 셰트 갔다 거기 직수도 푸릉 삼로 땅다 셴베 왕기 아니 직 밖에 취해서 마주바다 아니 탈바토베 줄라 마주바다 아니 단지게 줄라 마주바 된대게 삼 근데 유나 양 아니 다른 가르선 속이 싱딜라 때네 속이 싱딜라 땅도 야라 뒤바 제발라 때네 아니 가르치는 꿀웅 된도 꿀웅 되게 상고 매나 양 아니 산지기 주토를 줄라 줘야기 아니 고급지 요레스 고급지 요레스 어디 좀 있어 아니 그 뜻이도 언제 해만 무슨 꿀웅들이 매나야 아니 산지 유튜브에 줄 줘야지 고급지 요레스
In this way, one's intention, the motivation underlying practice determines the Dharma. It determines too whether something becomes cause for the omniscient state of Buddhahood, becomes cause for liberation. However, by the force of the merit field and the practice in letter of the 7-branch offering, though one's intention may be absent in its best form, nevertheless, because of the merit field itself, the practice, for instance, of the 7-branch offering, becomes cause for the omniscient state of Buddhahood.
Oh yeah, that the culture is not Sanjay Singh Chop, Kulung de Menaya, Sanjay Chop, and Toby Julo Junzedi, God, that Junzedi. When a general Kulung Mena, Jumaris, and that's a cousin of the city of water, the ring della Kulung Menaya, Julo to have Junzedi, that Shever, or that Junzedi God was. Junzedi Caresna, and a shingy to Latene, and a Jibu Toba, the Jibu Mixage Tobade, and a shingy to this for a single. Susu Yamazina, Paju, Niveto, Toba, or the young result.
But why would this be the case, especially when everywhere is reiterated the importance, the indispensable importance of intention in the very first place? Why would it be the case here that the claim is made that without adequate intention, nevertheless, the most salubrious result comes to pass? How so? We would need a reason then. The reason is by the force of the field of the Buddhas, the power of the merit field, the special result, the extraordinary result can nevertheless come to be, even though there is a failure in terms of the practice of the person.
And go to Chua to the Yoro, Inashi, Petinashi, Penangato Song Majana, Kazan Raya, Kokopchi Yoro, what did not hit over to special and Sungi or resonance.
Present is the song and Kevin Canada.
Song Majana, Song Jar, the Song Jepsia, Woma, the Song Majana, Kazan Raya, the Kokopchi Yoro, Tita Wota, and it's single Tendo Patazuya, Womazuna, Yanko. Korangi the singi to the joy, don't go young there to your or the little it petty your resonance.
Though the way in which the seeds are planted may be faulty, the fertility of the field ensures some richness in the harvest. This is the idea of the merit field. It's a scenario where investments may not be wisely made and business may not be conducted in the best imaginable way, yet there are profits. So there are moments and opportunities where one finds profit despite not practicing business and investment in the wisest way. Such is the scenario here with the power of the merit field.
Oh yeah, that I'm doing that Sharjoba, that Sharjoba. Mazo lota ba neje ro se neje ro se ro de zu kanga ta shingi tula de ne yende tobya ju sa ya se to go yo reso ne go to do.
This is a custom in the East where people go on pilgrimage to peeps, to powerful sites. These are merit fields. These are sources of great power.
Oh yeah, that chuba korang tsidi kala do tamba chwa tamba tang su zamba ane ta page chuba yangla dun di shegor do tamba chwa tamba do tamba chwa tamba da sinyi tamba chuba tamba ane wo de ta chuba yangla dun di ma ba je tanga je yo re so.
The verse begins with the finest flowers, then the finest garlands, the finest musical instruments, ointments and parasols, the finest lamps, and the finest incense. There an enumeration of 7 offering substances. This is a usual number of 7 offering substances.
Oh yeah, that kangalo chuba pi anda tangaje du kangalo la ane kobe cheba pabe chugun jisu ane chuba pidu zamba chuba de peta be kadu ne pena kadu do chuba tigi na thadi go be yabu pi tabu 아니 밀 통 대고 강가 뷰다고 고고다 어디나 신신 접에 다 지도자 뭐 거비 제벌 제벌 거비 제벌 제벌도 뭐 다지고 배 첼라면 뭐 미자면 뭐 강가 뷰다고 여봐 어디지로 거를 해서
The finest flowers, finest garlands, and the rest, the verse says, are made in distinctive arrangement. These distinctive arrangements are meticulous arrangements, fastidiously put together, so that they are ravishing to the eye. And it's all done with the utmost tidiness and cleanliness.
다 제가 이제 다 안다다 쳐봐 다다 디나는데 매도다 뭐 통화다 뭐 생다 다 누구들이야 아니 다 어디 치마 포마스 프레셔 로스키온도 와 치마 쓰자마다 마 간다 비야 제데기 십시도 치마도 마 제가도 치마스도 삼반다지 십시요 봐서 그러 포마스도 뭐 치아 루루요 봐데 직내로 달루네 루루스네 직 대진대제로서 포마스도 왔다 치마디 고 간데 레구나 루는 도도도도 세다데 이제 고 티시고 고야 남네 따네 티디 가서 빨리 잡으러 와. 데데 잡아 데레스를 섬로단 냠내 지겨래 손어서.
제마디 그래서
십시죠.
라라 근데 심지어 안에 도도시
네, 고 하시게 레구나 루네 도도도도 세다도 따시로
라 심바디 제마
진짜 치마디 나가도 뼈 버게도 와 뼈 발강지 파이 버도 치마디 강아 잡기도 어디로 섬다 지도 안 되시 경우에 손시
finest flowers, finest garlands, and the rest. And we come to finest incense, and incenses are of two forms, especially the loose powder form, and then a dense pressed form, which we find in incense sticks or in pouches that may be put in a censer, and then the censer swung about, pervading all of the environment with the smell of the incense. Both of these forms, this loose powder form and the pressed sticks of incense and little sachets of incense, are to be understood.
뭐야 다 근데 쳐봐 되게 다 쳐봐들래야 다 어지단 쳐봐들래야 라나 예비 쳐봐들 라나 매비 쳐봐서 쳐봐 피야들 때 아주 되게 타니로 니어레스 라나 매비 쳐봐들 라나 예비 쳐봐스 다다 라나 매비 쳐봐생에디 다 다동모스 되시 자이디 가와 계기어레스나 아니 상계다 장주서버 진속이 권한족이 아니 왜 땡이진다 투기 또비 되는 깨바다 아니 권한도 제 먹고 주니 배 쳐봐배 난가강 타예버 쳐발을 배 친구들 주중고 체매버들 배 피토야 되는데 요 권한도 땡이지 요래 어디에 돈을 피버들 아니 라나 매비 쳐봤으면 본도 피야 되는데 제시 얘기어레서
Offerings are unexcelled offerings and then mundane excelled offerings. The unexcelled offerings require a separate and different explanation as to their quality and features. They are the unexcelled offerings of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas offered through the force of samadhi and the natural power of these personages, such that the offerings are beyond dimension, they are beyond number, they occur in all directions.
오야 나타나가도 쳐봐 뒤 배당아도 야라 뒤밖에 쳐봐 딜라 차샤바 있는 쳐봐 피야 야라 뒤부터가나 레데 이나야 딜라야 아니 랑기 꿀웅다 땡이진 톱다 마톱게 데레게 오한기 아니 라나 예베 쳐봐다 라나 메베 쳐봐서 어디 스테시 연구요해서
The offering substances will be one and the same between ordinary offerings and unexcelled offerings. The difference is and arises by the force of intention, and samadhi, whether it is present or not, determines whether the offering of the very same 7 substances is an ordinary offering or an unexcelled offering.
오야 다 힌두 담바다 땡이지 줄라 제사조가 사통부 창주 삼바다 되두기 아니 고 땡이진 또 메베 또지 달라나 메베 치고 피투고요 다 땡이진 줄라 메바 가라도 더이나 달라나 메베 치고도 피투야게 자진 고등까지 피투야 자진의 건도 상요 말레스 일단 아주 쳐봐디 라나 예배 쳐봐 차그래 해서 어디 손지.
Those bodhisattvas of the first bodhisattva bhumi who have achieved samadhi are able to make unexcelled offerings. We ordinary individuals yet to achieve samadhi can only make excelled offerings, that is ordinary offerings, which may be excelled.
오예, 근데 차를 제단 다 라나 예바다 라나 매바스데 제단 치코랑 카두리 시자베는 라나 예바스나 쳐봐 디간도 다도 쳐봐 야가 표야 예바이나 홀라나 예베 쳐봐서 그래. 쳐봐 답에 딜레 야가 춘 표야 매바 쳐봐 약션 표야이나 아니 라나 매베 쳐봤어. 치코랑 디가도기나 디레스 먹지.
Ordinary offerings versus unexcelled offerings find their difference in the first case, the ordinary offering having conceivably other offerings that would surpass it. So it's really it's a surpassed offering, a surpassable offering. It may be surpassed by offerings of another sort, but the unexcelled offerings cannot be surpassed. There's not another form of offering which may surpass it in any way. So it is known as an unsurpassed offering or an unexcelled offering.
오예, 아니 nothing is 이렇게 쳐봐 라나 매베 쳐봐 디 아니 다 띵이제 마토바 말아도 저 피투 말아와서 피투 약간 하고 싶어라 여러 와서 아니 이내 아무도 아니 초 야치 못 사지도 아니 쳐봐다나 매베 쳐봐 피에 요 말을 했으나 아니 말아도 피에 고급직 여래스 아니 어디 있다 고 말아도 쳐봐티다 제가 나시 띵이지 주베 쳐봐 나신 말을 피 토고 말에 이나야 티다 뉴바냐 봐 대나신기 손 표현 토베 예베 쳐봐지 간들 피에 여래스
Those individuals with samadhi are able to make the unsurpassed offerings, the unexcelled offerings. Those of us yet to achieve samadhi ordinarily cannot make these unsurpassed offerings, these unexcelled offerings. However, there is one moment, one opportunity wherein those of us yet to achieve samadhi, unable yet to emanate through the force of samadhi, unexcelled, unsurpassed offerings, may nevertheless make an offering of equal force and of equal benefit as the unexcelled, unsurpassed offering.
딜라 돌라 르르 자주시도 도스인데 르르 자주시도 도스나라 카리스모르스나 담주 짐바스 담베도 롱다 도베 롱치다 도베치 짐바제 아니 장주주도 샘께바 이나 아니 라나메베 치바 피와 다진 장주 샘바도 피와 나신 소나 먼저 집어 토야 예베 고급 송을 해서 놓지.
In the Sutra of Wisdom Ocean, it is said, for those who have grasped the Dharma, who have developed the mind of enlightenment, such individuals can make the unexcelled offering. This is the scriptural source for this.
인지 빼가나가 가르쳤나? 인지 빼가레스 숨어서 퇴전 룰을 쉬었어. 장주 쌤도 동번 얘기 된 랑게 터버도 삼중부 말아봐지니 예배 된데 랑게 쌤을 지금 공중국 고바 퇴선 고중국 쉬어와라 아니 나나 매비 쳐봐도 다긴 쳐봐도 집어 표현 집어 송요래서
다 직제랑 양자치 선다
인지 빼가서 뭐 배정이니 직디 퇴전 룰을 쉬어 퇴바다 퇴선 삼바제 룰을 쉬어서 주바 퇴바 삼바 주바 숨을 또 퇴전 룰을 쉬어
맞아. In the White Lotus of Compassion Sutra, it is said, where emptiness and bodhicitta have arisen, there with that person who with energy practices listening, contemplation, and meditation, such a person is able to make the unexcelled offering.
예, 다디네야. 라메기 땅아라도 최신 라메기 주고 라마주고 제시 자당을 제바 이나스. 라메 명아게 카고네세. 이와 게서 최세도 줄네 피워스. 게자. 그나 단다 오망도 겨사 사교 여와. 이제 단다랑이 겨사 심어. Wangba는 가랑도 개와 싸바 주가 배 람도바 줄라 개바다 두강알로 최제도 주네. 최배 제일 봐서 거네. 아니 저바 표가이나 아니 라나메 저바 표가 난 라나메 저바 표 누가서 타고요. 그래서
Supplementing these scriptural supports is the pith instruction from the lineage of spiritual mentors, the gurus, which adds this further support that the virtuous roots of the 3 times themselves may be given the very form of the offering substances, meaning realizations that have developed in the past and virtues of the past, realization and virtuous practices occurring in the present moment, and those realizations and virtues to come for a person may all take form as these very unexcelled offering substances, thereby such a person is able to make the unexcelled offering.
예, 세상 알아줘라. 나는 맵이 쳐봤으니 피 자주 선박이 땡이지 톱네. 어도 피투야 묘바디 가능하줄라 매. 이나야 대단 묘바냐 봐. 대나신 그 건조그 땡이지 들도 피니 손놈 톱이와 나시 맞을라야 대단 묘바냐 봐 톱투야게. 아니 자지 시다마. 아다 자주 선줄라 깨바세. 아니 단디 동다 톱에 쳐 짐바세. 토든 줄라 쇼와세. 아니 가래다 라메 랑기 개와 사교도 최배 제라 그트니 표바디 주베 쳐바레스 주베 쳐바이다 아니 라나 메베 쳐바 자기 어레서
So then, though we haven't yet achieved samadhi, that by its own force makes the unexcelled offering, nevertheless there is a way for us to make unexcelled offerings through which we receive equal merit and autonomy, as which comes from the offering of unexcelled offerings. And so these 4 features of the offering of practice ensure this. And these 4 are that the mind of enlightenment, where it has arisen, is one. And the Dharma's meaning, understood through scripture and through inference. And an individual who applies themselves in earnest and fervidly to listening, contemplation, and meditation, and one who transforms roots of virtue into the offering substances. With these 4 features of the offering of practice, an individual without yet achieving samadhi may make an unsurpassed, unexcelled offering.
예, 딱 한다 담주 짐바세데 담주 딱 동반이게 되는 덤베게 아니 도다 벤주도 랑게 로바다 셈을 지금 심바도 강가 롱도 또 짐바래. 다 디네 라바 숨기 냠네 나다 라바 수름비 라바 땡게 라바 셔르 라바 텐데 아니 랑게 라브네 아니 랑게 줄레 깨바다 아니 딜라 메바체 차도 투바데 가르쳐 봐이나야 대담제로 또베 때바지 마스 롱게 또바지 마다 또베 때바지 마스 니어레 소노.
Grasping the Dharma's ultimate meaning is one of these 4 features. Grasping the Dharma's ultimate meaning implies an understanding of the Shastra and the Buddha Vachana. And that is an understanding that is scriptural and realizational. This is the meaning of understanding the ultimate Dharma. Also implied in this, understanding the ultimate Dharma, is the 3 higher trainings, that the 3 higher trainings have arisen in one's continuum. The higher training of ethical discipline, the higher training of concentration, and the higher training of wisdom, that these are present in the mind, along with a comprehension, scriptural and realizational, of the Shastra and Buddha Vachana, is what is meant by understanding the Dharma.
다 창조성 계획 배우는 맞아 가든 다 가면 되면 시다 창조성 귤을 깨나 아니 창조성 무슨 귤을 깨봐 있나요? 배цел래요. 아니 주베스 조금 귤을 깨봐 있는 이년 수수 배줘봐 방면 되나요? 배 창조성 귤을 두고 요 산지 고바 더 귤을 두고 요 인데 아니 그 쳐발라나 매봐 이거 대시 배 망고 열어서
The second, the arising of the mind of enlightenment, bodhicitta. Where this occurs, all that it confers, I again and again, endlessly, describe for you. And whether bodhicitta is aspirational with its unlimited benefits, or it is engaged, in which case, whether one sleeps, eats, or is neglectful even, with the mind of enlightenment having arisen, the benefits uninterruptedly arise for a person. In such case, with the presence of the mind of enlightenment, the cause too for the achievement of ultimate enlightenment and the ability to make unexcelled offerings is present.
다 대된 줄로 쉬어왔어. 숨바들 대된 줄로 쉬어왔어야 돼. 아니 간테베 대인들 랑게 체도 냠줄 랑마. 내 동반이게 된 토스나 동반이 된 토반지라가 수세는 말 삼박이 냐네 된곰 아니 랑게 줄로 잘 곰 냠네 도선 고송 냠네지 안다스 냠네 제야 돼. 아니 지 알아서 되긴 제만하지. 다 제마 지초 그래. 이 제말 야 로 제마 치고 삼들 상로 많이 봐. 남산 퇴바다 남산 삼고 고바 제바 일로 고거를 해서 놓지.
And the third effort at the achievement of the meaning and the listening to of the Dharma. This is repeated reflection, repeated exploration of emptiness. When one has penetrated emptiness, to recall it, reflect through it. This is the practice of study and then contemplation and then meditation. The creation and recreation and sustaining of the experience of insight. We ordinarily postpone things and say to ourselves, I'll do this later. But in this case, it is the continual and immediate application and sustaining of study and contemplation and meditation.
거의 같은 건도 강을 빼도 저간 시에서 빼도 전주생이 냠내지 가다에 그시 쟁아 와서 저 그런 뇌기 다 차별로도 삼아 아니 뇌기 링신나는 가려서나 아니 결론기 아니 심지기 바와 되는 띵초고 말해서 되면 남산 그런 남산 그도 랑제는 남산 수주와 땡기죠 검기 바보죠 되면 좀 유지할 아니 유지를 좀 아니 그런 답변 못하는 로도 아니 가려서 마성도 좀 아니 유타고 아니 수불을 괜찮고 강에 요이나 믹스에다 야 남산 마도 남산 내냐 된 땡겨져서 어디나시 배들 송지사 제가 디나시 수수가 암조 고와다 남산 저선 최배 된데 삼박이 남산 야도 양바디 랑 셈을 주지 않은 공중이 검투바 된지 적으로 했을 때 제바이는 아니 뒤차고 standard이 되는 룰을 쉬어서야기 나나메베 쳐바차게 레송을
As I have explained before, the lessons of the Dharma are to be applied immediately. And we can take as an example, as exemplary Chengawa, the story of Chengawa when he was reading the Vinaya and was reading in the ethical stories of the Vinaya, whereupon he found that one is prohibited from sitting on the hide of an animal, and he immediately stood up and pulled out the bear hide he was sitting on and tossed it out. And then he sat down and continued to read and found that an exception is made in the Vinaya for those who are in an isolated place where there's hardship, And in remote areas of this kind, it's allowed for a person, if necessary, to use the hide of animals. So he collected the bear skin up again and sat on it. And so he exemplifies, Chenmo exemplifies the way in which what one studies may be immediately applied, so that experience is known through the lessons one studies. So if one does this, then this feature of offerings, that through the achievement of the meaning of the Dharma, one may make unexcelled offerings, may be understood.
뭐야, 다 라나 매비 쳐봐 수술로 후에 고급들이 여러 제시되어 지나 띠냠네 안 딱 치고래 세상 다 되리래 안 되린들 대샤스 대단다 최백이 뭐 최백 배유 아니 최백 표다다 저 강가 제시 참만 사래 대단한 것들에 대해서 다 저한테 대체는 한테 카세트를 로이는 디디신 디디들 대신 한테 지워요나 송로 나서
So then, present for us is the opportunity and capability to make unexcelled offerings. And this is the idea of this exposition now, of offering in its essential character and the benefits that stem from it, and the proper way to make offerings. This has been the idea of this exposition here of the Dharma, and now we may engage in our Q&A. My hope is always that through Q&A we can clarify anything that is unclear, and so then if you have any questions, please produce those questions. Excuse me for 1 minute.
Oh yeah, that's why you so stay.
So if you've got a question, ask.
Yes, I'm the judge of so
My question is concerns that last part where one is reading the Mahabharata, and by reading it, one sees that one can sit on fur of an animal. But also the Mahabharata, there's a part where monks cannot keep sugar, or the sugar in India in those days, more than 7 days. But just say somebody is keeping sugar there, they read the Naya, and then they take the sugar out of their huts. That would be comparable to be sitting on the fur of an animal. But
it seems that that state of consciousness compared to samadhi would be very different because the mental afflictions of samadhi would not be as present as when one is just dreaming the night, unless is it similar to when we see like a sunset or we turn and we see it and there's this immediate relationship to it, so the afflictions of the mind are arising. Is it at that level that one is reading the night and having that type of an experience, so the mental afflictions would not be so present, would be more comparable to what would be in one's mental continuum when they're in samadhi?
정보 신나디 살라마사 하셔서 마이나 있네. 네 코어된들 바이. 어쨌든 아니 두 칭마와기 아니 두아디 식도 잠발라디 바바디 람사니 때마디 네 양가르 네마디 아니 네서 직접 네 심바지요레 아니 두알라 아니 부람 아니 냐르미 초파 네 sombre 아니 샤포 드마토 아니 냐르미 초파 아디안 요레 같은서 베나디 디 두어디 아니 시그네 아 부람디 똥거레 아니 삼바디 람상케 용으로 다 다스 타임도 이마레 데데데 변다 포데레 다데네 파파니 땡야다니 보람디 땡야 땡 거베 아니 중센디 심라 케바디 당 띵인진 톱네 최디 아니 최 강롱와 아니 ゼ베 내가 당 자기르베 자기마레 자고선 띵인진 톱에 아니 삼로 땅땅땅 아니 두었다네 아니 삼로 땅땅 아니 람상 아니 귤라 자리야 자르수요 귤라 자르수
세우스 지그다 냠네 지디 좋아 나가도 땡게진 파샤 알라 냠네 지디 아니 카도카도 제마도나 아니 냠네 퇴베 되는 삼중이 냐마도 삼중 되는 냐마도는 곰중 똑바게 매봐 인도 잠바 아니 한다고 카도카도 지고래서 돼 되게 니즈디 되지와 다 단도 단도 그런 거 있지 시도와 띵어도 되는 말에 그런 거 되지 매 개롱기 매샤비 어저디 매도 배주 다야다 아니 롱둥이 어저 개롱기 세들 롱둥이세 예지기 세들이 열 어디주기 켜버시야지 두두지어레스 그래서 매샤 두바스기 줘야 어서 매샤 두바 어저 개롱기 세들도 거에도 있나 거에다 세들라 아니 질럽죠 질럽 잡니 아니 질럽 쇼스네 아주 거는 질럽 잡고요
진럽 영래
질럽죠 죽은 남자들 하고 냐 저거 말해 냐도 질럽 잡고
진럽 나와
질럽도 이
진럽 간지
죽고 질럽이요 그 남자 질럽이요 샹들 질럽이요
알알스
질럽 잡아요 그래서 수술 리더 인지 주든 있었기나 사람 대처 말
알레
되나 질럽 쇼
알레
아이 거는 질럽 잡고
알레스
그걸 냐 줘야 질럽 잡고
알레
어디를 잡아요 세단 땅 가서 결론이 유지 야당 저러 어디 잡아랬어 맨샤 두발라야 저다 아니 거기다 세드들 두두 냐죠 마죠 채요 되게 되셔레스 니단 단단 가서 디냐네디 세단테 되게 말해서
아니 맨샤 덤발라나니 맨 사이기 맨 통이기 맨
어디
맨샤 샤포
맨 여러 맨디 샤 두임버도 냐죠야 나와지 냐죠 가서 채요 어디 되게 되셔 이 단도 디 군이 냠내 가가래서
다들 니 덴서 정말라 여제라 서버든 사마니 롱기 여제 진랍
강가 유지 말다 또 거일이나 거일 지나도 되고 세드에는 그저를 냐 산이 지난 결론이 산이 사약 소조 제가 세냐 좀 산이 가르사거나 나냐고 로지만 가르사고 비쌈단 세냐 좀 말해 때 이내 매기를 들여와 결론이 그런 소요 지도라 이제 둘다씩 냐초야 이 냐초가 되게 냠내요 어디 군이 내주지 같이 봐 말해 가가래서
we can put aside samadhi considerations of samadhi we can put aside considerations of samadhi here to start out, and concentrate on the practice of immediate application of a lesson derived from study to one's practice. Without the immediate application, there'll be a failure to ever implement a lesson and a meaning learned. And without ever the application in practice of a lesson, a meaning from study, then there'll be no development of its experiential quality through meditation. So this is a necessity of sequence giving rise to an outcome that is experiential. So that is the main point. This is in practical terms regarding practice. Then in the Vinaya regarding possessions of a bhikshu, this is a section of the Vinaya with specifications that vary depending upon the material, depending upon the kind of possession being dealt with. The period that various possessions may be held varies. Some may be held for 7 days and then must be relinquished and then repossessed and held another 7 days. Others, a month. And this applies to certain foodstuffs, but there are times too for holding other kinds of possessions, specifically medicines that are of use to the bhikshu. And so these may be held longer periods. So there are different classes of possession allowed to be held different lengths of time. This is one part. Now, two, for instance, the dharma robes and the dharma skirt and the rest, these pieces of clothing, they have an expiring 7-day permission of use. After the expiration of that time, then permission is regained or taken up again for their continued use. And the bhikshu isn't supposed to hoard, to keep possessions in anticipation out month, years, and so on. Isn't supposed to put food stores away for a month on and a year on, etc. But for medicines and certain things, the expiration period for what is a permissible amount of time to hold it may vary. So this is what is relevant here.
My question isn't about this. It's just this thing that when read it and I'm studying and then realize I cannot hold it for this time. I make the change in the same way. And I sit on this robe or not sit on the robe, I make the change in relationship to what I'm studying. That's what I'm making the parallel to. That's just another example. It has nothing to do with the time per se. So in that sense, then if it's unexcelled, then it seems like it would be comparable to somebody with samadhi for the first bhumi or bodhisattva making an offering. So I'm just trying to see how it reaches that unexcelled part. Because all I'm doing is reading something and I make an adjustment in my behavior.
그래서 따니 가르사니 두세단 아니 두세 세디 상당히매 여러 상당히매 아니 니치와 아니 니치와기 된다 소데 가르레스나 니치다 아니 두어디 따두 직 초파당 미 초파 된데 시그네 람상 아니 드루바디 기kengi 아니 소소케부 예나야 아니 라나메베 쳐봐 아니 불 쳐봐 톱수데 간리 있나 들어 띵이든 톱 매나야 아니 fashion 드럽게 킹이 아니 라나메베 쳐봐 아니 불 톱아 간데스 네 거기를
대부분 삼았다 말했어. 거기 간달 보게 라나메베 쳐봐 띵이든데 표현이 콜을 제부지 톱을 와. 되게 네바 톱에 쳐지지 간단 간도 쳐봐 표가 되는 네바 톱이 여봐인다. 분이 제부 충배 유진 상담을 했어. 지단 어디 도와다 먼저 그침 망고직 릉하기 죄배 침 이때 가가지고. 근데 누가도 좀 망치 릉하기 죄배 침을 하고. 나타나 땡이 진다도 보라 가르나 열었나? 릉하기 죄배지 뭐 이기 죄배 침 나가 열어. 어제도 콘도 때도 내가 열었어. 이나 안달라나 여봐도 매봐서야지. 그 제부 누가 치중 찍고 토부 이와이다. 그걸 단남에 쳐박에 제배 누가 톱 그랬어. 이제 시작하고 해야 돼. 거기 보게 땡이지 되게 표백이 누가 톱해야지 열어. 이 단다 딜러 토부 이와이다. 그니 단남에 쳐박 표가 고쳐가 해서 어제 시작하기 어렵습니다.
The similarity in force between here practice and there the achievement of samadhi offering and through samadhi the ability to make unexcelled offerings, that being comparable to through practice being able to make unexcelled offerings, they are comparable because of the parity of the result. The parity of the result means that through the force of samadhi, offerings are made which confer the ultimate result. And so too, through practice done in this way, the result that it brings about is the very same. So by the parity of the result, then, the force of practice is equal to the force of samadhi in terms here, then such a person who practices in this way may make unexcelled offering. So this is how they are comparable.
다 얘기를 해서 돼.
Thank you so much, Vishala. For those of us who are ordinary, yes, and who are only beginners in our understanding and practice of Dharma, seems like even though it says that for those of us who have not achieved samadhi, we can still make unexcelled offerings. But it seems like we can do that, but it's very difficult because it's like understanding and the scriptural and realizational dharma and three higher training, and having the three higher trainings arising in our mind and so on. But then the other, and also the uninterruptedly arising of bodhicitta, whether it's aspirational or engaging, and then continuously or sustaining the effort to learn, to study, to contemplate, and to meditate. Those are so difficult, and we may understand a little bit. We may start to practice a little bit, but we don't have the thorough understanding nor the continuous practice at this moment. So that speaks to the difficulty of achieving, of doing that we can make an unexcelled offering even though we don't have samadhi. So that leaves one thing is to transform roots of virtues of 3 times into offering. With that, if we just do that alone, would that make our offering, would that transform our offering into an unexcelled offering?
And the Vinaya is concerned most of all with conduct of body and speech. Samadhi is mentation. It is mental activity. So the Vinaya's concerns differ slightly from focus on samadhi. Yeah, then get rid of let's see.
Yeah.
That
It's just,
look.
yeah, the samadhi,
That was the tail end of what he said. I had to
okay.
slip it from it. Okay. Yeah. 기량이 아니 somewhat just 최소한. Yeah. Low. 라서 아니 소소 아니 참아봐. 그래서 기분이나 아니 띵은 top 매봐. 아니 얘는 띵은 top 매나양. 아니 디 그래서 기슈시 아니 상내라. 기슈시 상내. 디 라나메베 쳐봐 아니 그 쳐봐든지
예수식 상 말아.
라서 아니 기슈 아니 강롱 이제 강롱 아니 오 강롱 나 야. 그때 되는
가르쳐 있는 저도 보러.
라도 아니 간선데 제단에 담배추 zemba 아니 장축 있음 기어봐 나 되네 그래서 다니 tö든 럽러 쇼와 아 된서 아니 백칼 가버래 맞아 아니 서서 기어보다 아니 레 당보 아이겠나 그래서 아니 그때 쭉 가버래 얘나한테 대숨가 대숨레 셴베 아니 게자 두숨기 게자 최세수 겨루어디 같이 아니 디 드로시바 삼라 자 아니 디칙부 게자데 아니 게자데 제수 겨루어디 디칙부기 깽기 아니 라나메베 쳐봐 아니 부 쳐봐든지 용거베
디시도와 디시부 강한 가르쳐 버리나요? 나남에 비춰봐 두에 지가 참고마다 즉 제바이나 자주쌤 기울에 제바 있나요? 나남에 비춰버려. 그들 룰러 쇼바 있나요? 나남에 비춰버려. 뭐 담배추 농도 또배추 가리 잼바 있나요? 나남에 비춰버려. 아니 저제서 교류받아야 인다 디 시부가 시시단이 찍치토가 있나요? 나남에 비춰봐 제바데 누구 열어서 저 정보도 제 아니 이바들라 그냥 간다 카고를 세야지 뭐네 대화는 대바라 레스 있나요? 카고스니디 랑이 곰마곰 지기 대시에 마도 지기 검사회절라 카고스니디 요 말해서 어디 지키야 그래서
Yes, all four of these haven't got to be present for a person to be able to make an unexcelled offering. Any one of them will be sufficient. The development of the mind of enlightenment is sufficient cause enabling a person to make unexcelled offerings. Effort at achieving the meaning of the Dharma through practice. This itself too is sufficient cause for making unexcelled offerings. Comprehension of the Dharma through scripture and realization, this too. And of course, transforming roots of virtue of the 3 times into the offering substance, this too enables a person to make unexcelled offerings. Any one of these four is sufficient for making unexcelled offerings. Now, as you say, yes, of course, it is very difficult. However, the very notion of difficulty is only one that is relevant to a person who is in the process of sensitizing and habituating the mind to something anew. With the habituation, then what was a notion of difficulty evaporates. There's nothing that is difficult. So yes, difficult at the outset, but with habituation, difficulty as a notion no longer pertains.
Yeah,
Today at the beginning of the talk, you mentioned the 6 paramitas are also within the prostrations. I'm wondering how you accomplish that.
So the 패식이 거다야. 아니 이시기 착세와 때 아니 퍼진 쪽 레레라 자르스 디송송. 아니 착세 세와 갑라 아니 쪽 레레 간데스 자르토바. 간데스 아니
자체로 한번 제가 자체스. 아니 자체도 좀 랑이 세도 좀 아니 자체도 좀 자체스. 아니 자체도 좀 랑이 세도 좀 아니 자체도 좀 자체스. 아니 자체도 좀 자체도 좀 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 아니 자체도 아니 랑이 세드 잠바 아니 미바치드 잠바 섬나 미바치드 메바치기로와 메바치드 잠바 아니 소조게 지금 랑의 신심제 탐제 랑이 표 랑 차트의 신심제 탐제 수틀을 줄래냐 아니 양도 차트 미바치드 아니 신심제 망고 양도 차트 미바치드 랑이 차트와 신 차트도 꼴에 미바디기 당고 집에 미바디 온 거래스 가서 미바디 온 거래스 이제 추루 미바디 아니 차트도 야고 마중화도 아니 너스 삼바제 차트도 야고 중화들 안 되고 야고 책이 이상 부릉주 야고 말이고도 야고 삼바 가다 셈나 장화도 아니 주름 냠내는 도로 왔어 아니 차트들이 좀 맞다 수주도 볼 차트도 수볼 마데와 요르 수볼 깔레 요르 수볼 따나도 유고를 배마고 수주 동에 강에만 눌러 마데와 먹고 저가 쇠바지기도 와 그런데 쇠베 냠내는 요르 알리디 숨소
So do a prostration, and as you do the prostration, recognize you yourself are doing a prostration while simultaneously visualizing sentient beings collecting, gathering around you, so that and they are all sentient beings, and the prostration is for the well-being of all sentient beings, not your own ends merely. All sentient beings are collected about you and together prostrate along with you, and your prostration is itself the cause and encouragement for those others to engage in their prostration, and this is the paramita of generosity playing out through your prostration. And then as you prostrate, that you commit yourself to prostrating correctly. Anything that would entail mistaken prostration and homage, you eliminate. You are disciplined as you perform a prostration correctly. And this is ethical discipline as you adjust your mental outlook as you prostrate. And then as you will face some physical hardship, some strain on your body and muscles and nerves and all, you tolerate it. And this is the paramita of patience. So here we have the first, second, and third.
Oh, yeah, that means the to do, 랑이 차차와로 표현 썸 만미 차차와로 가와지 쪼아제디 준주시 아니 차체도 좀 미국의 미국 룽아 예수님 쩌바 탐지 예외처럼 sem지지도 내버리 땡이지세 아니 차체도 좀 차체년 수수 세게 차 아니 저 거기 차체 유병의 동반이 인사봤지 아니 대시라고 나가는 잘 좋았어.
And then as you perform the prostration, aware of the benefits of prostration, you are filled with an enthusiasm, an appreciation, and a fervor for prostration. And this is energetic discipline, the fourth, zeal or energetic discipline, the paramita. And then as you engage in the prostration, you see to it that you are steady and single-pointed in body, speech, and mind, focused upon virtue. And this steadiness with object virtue is samadhi, the fifth paramita. And then as the prostration occurs, that prostrator, that to whom the prostration is made, and the prostration itself, these are absent of intrinsic nature. This is wisdom of emptiness, and this is the wisdom pragya paramita.
Could you remind me what the 7 substances are for offering? And also, like, I didn't hear their instructions for the garlic that can be made to offer.
That's what the chubit zed doing you, but they didn't young yard and drank it. You know, didn't any Carissa Pelma, you're metal Pelma, Chingwa, metal Chingwa, these are done. Metal you're on it, Chingwa is that so you're.
Oh, yeah, that's somebody tambody 차체 차체 와세.
But the chubit zed doing you, zed. And you're not doing my.
알요. 최베제도. 제도로 뭐디 최베제도 다보이바 아무도 저도 예지 최베라고 봐.
예지.
no. 이제 최베디 딜바 다보다 알아간 바디 비비도 알아게 되나. 다보디 샵시 메토 부부 마메 티적 아니 로모스. 괜찮아. 되죠.
no.
매도 청와대라. 어제 매도 청와 저 뒤용 어제 매도 청와서 나히 매도 뒤용 어제 나가 들리나 매도 청와도 저 됐습니다. 여러. 그 뒤용 어제 매도 청와서 나가 되는 매도 청와 미 통화요 가지고서 되지 봐라. 나도 들려야 대시 로스요. 나도 매도도야. 매도 그런 게 대시 로스래.
That's
그래서 어머 나도 르기 맞아 르디 매도를 왜 그거 와. 세상에 코테스트시 가야 돼서.
and then Parasani.
This along new the shadow.
Aloki.
Yende. New the shadow.
These seven substances are the seven substances of Argam, Padium, Push, Vidupe, Alok again, the Neva, the Shabda. They are then the first two forms of water offering, and then flower offering, then incense, then light offering, then ointment, then food, then music. And the garland, a flower garland, may be explained in various ways. Following the secret Mantrayana, there's a different sort of explanation of the flower and the garland. In the ordinary explanation of flower and flower garland, we can just take as example those garlands that we see ordinarily in daily life. In the secret Mantrayana, the difference is the body itself in its entirety becomes a flower, and therefore a flower garland becomes different then.
Yeah, but Shari is a Shari in Washington.
I was just going to inquire, there's times in a person's life where physical limitations of such that you have perfect frustration would cause further injury. It's more than just a matter of discomfort, but frustration. And there's special allowances. Do I get a blue handicap card?
Then the Gimbachane, Chaksavati Mevro, Chaksen Naya, and the Lu Karilagre, the Mekion Jung and Jung again, Sugurgira, Jezan the Kimba Denzala, and the Chak Sel Mego, and the Chokjen Shuchovache.
차 건다데 예상 차 건다데 아니 님도 상태도 차나 류가 이순기 차 열었어 이 차도 맞잖아 류기 차 세나 팽기 말했어 이 차 세나 류기 차 맞잖아 차래스 어디 하고 그래서
I feel that you haven't quite grasped prostration's meaning, because prostration is physical, verbal, but most of all mental. Where the mental prostration and homage is present, though the physical and the verbal instance may not be, the prostration has been performed by the force of the mental performance of prostration.
차가 제시 나로 하다 야구만 배제 14보다나 주부 독수나야 차 뛰어스
Listen.
단계를 주부 독수나야 차 뛰어스 가르치는 이익이 돈을 구배신 주부 주부이나 차했어 세상 공부 쉬고 말을 멍거처럼 주부 상계를 이 말을 주부 야지 주부 있어 차 야지 차고 그래서
A detailed observation from the scriptures themselves allows us to say that the Buddha raised a finger, and in raising a finger performed a prostration. And this was a prostration because the mental prostration happened. And so you then may perform hundreds of prostrations. You haven't got to apply for any handicap card.
야, 너 배시하게
So should we conclude there?
Does that mean I can do 10 at one time?
但你对这个你这你注册特色
오, 대답 자몸 장매 째 요와스.
hundreds of thousands, yeah, countless.
사 장매요. 사 장매 째세.
뒤질러라?
땡이 좀 째야 돼. 오늘 들어와.
네.
나 어제 땡기도 맨날 몇백천
네.
째고 그래서 자 장매 째 누가 톱세. 다 단단히 송송.
No. Yes, you've got it for innumerable prostrations, maybe done through this visualization of the simulacrum of what would happen were one to achieve samadhi and all that would be possible in innumerable prostrations simultaneously at once through the force of samadhi.
자리를 저한테 누가 친구 청송.
And Charlie's question was a potent one, indeed.
차기. 차 장매 째 배인이 송송.
And our reward for the question was an understanding of just how many prostrations we in fact can do.
그때는 어떤 그런 사님은 근데 대신 말은 저서 나는 사는 것도 다 그런 차가 처벌 표현이 있냐면 세 통보 요약이 면험다 채내는 것도 배 말은 냠는 차다 처벌이 냠는 무튼의 지주 여봐 그냥 베드베 차도 표현이 보라시 표현 시험하는 실제 내부터가 여러 면험 잡아지 아니 네 차도 표현 잡을 때는 아니 라운드 신 탐제라 David, they were me do it to it, and they can say to what they were do to it, they will do a show.
Then we will conclude here and recite our closing prayers, directing the force of our attention to these two branches of offering, prostration and offering, that they bring for us tremendous results, and that our practice of prostration and offering be continuous, and through the results and the continuity of this practice, that we may ultimately thoroughly eliminate the suffering experienced by both ourselves and all others, and bring for all, ourselves included, lasting contentment. With this end in mind, we recite our closing prayers.
베네린도 벨소예 가다라 양바가시 사바네 로메 마리지도 조와 안데 야외 데모 선베 사랑 부두리야 자베 영기 세웨 덴베 림바 군상 안디조 니네 그베 게나 니제쇼 Rangi Jishin Tobe Lamji Shudra Tsewe Chanwe Takilji Lowe Yiji Mungpa Seji Yawe Tenpa Yurin Zengyuruji Tenpa Rinjin Choji Majaba Jajang Nyambar Yuwe Chode Inji Jimbe Yiran Jewa Yi Pende Sewara Jebara Sho Seje Jawe Minchung Chile Le Ru Janju Lamji Rimbe Yang Ade Namji Yila Pede Jin Jawe Zeba Rindu Kyongju Chi Langsan Rube Tunjin Ruje Jin Yenjen Seje Medan Nime Yung Sera Kundu Yawe Mawali Namda Lamda Jawa Magirji Kanze Tibo Jola Shushu Suje Gula Kumba Deise Tude Namje Tadu Joje Jin Jashi Gyasu Shugun Jajuji.
From my two collections, vast the space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time. May I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose mind's wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives and issues. May I find the best of the paths of the complete teachings, and may I please all the Buddha I practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold Buddha's teachings for a great long time, with my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings
have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may offer this treasure of happiness to aid all sentient beings. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time by following the complete graduated path to enlightenment and the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings that eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the path never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes an effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere.
Dage chen
Sabe Yewandi Tendando
Kebaraji Lozan Rabali Tembe Nimbo Rende Seche Pare Rage Kore Singande Tendan Dewa Pale Jungwe Tere Zewa Dinze Yadoji Shabe Sige Mbate Bawo Jina Kimbo Dong Kundo Zambo Deyan Deshinte Deda Gungi Jerson Bawo Jewa Deda Tamje Radu Yuzon Shebe Yawa Tamje Awa Kamba Shukti Mamba Dagi Jewe Tawa Digu Yang Sambo Shejir Radu Kanyo Sencho Rinpoche Maje Banam Je Yurchi Kewa Nyamba Meba Yang Gone Gone Pewara Shu.
I dedicate whatever virtues I've ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Losang Drapa. In the land encircled by snowy mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful and counsel, please remain until cyclic existence is ended. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantha Bhattacharya do, realize things as they are. Also, I dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by the victorious thus gone ones of the three times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. May the supreme jewel of Bodhicitta that is not arisen rise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Update 소신 때 근데 기억나는 거 직신인데 나도 컨셉 나좀
따로 저 따디 자 소신 빠지면서 기사스 이 소신이 람림 소신 I think that we got TV that they goes in 일단 주로 공장이나 배도 좀
So Shire brought along a tanka of the Great Treatise on the stages of the path, merit field. You may look at it, and though there are some slight differences between this and the one described, you can take it as a basis for your practice, and I think it would be very beneficial. So take a look at it.
예, 소신 아니지단 소신 티 내가 망고 열었어. 아마 수수도 냠면치당 또 민다 데도 열었어. 아니 디 아브리티단 디 아니 자베 실롱게. 티단 배우도 있는 티 카시집니다. 우스. 어디래 이네 다 수수고 쌤은 공부해서 소신 공다 가진 것도 시켜와 나신 거면 열어. 군도 누구를 소신도 간거 봤다면 오지는 거면 열어. 수수고 냠면 지나야 가르치는 때 수수 쓰면 내려오도록 제 수수들이 지초를 해서
So there are various depictions of merit fields following different instructions in the lineage of various spiritual mentors, and this particular merit field in its arrangement follows from the Manjushri's own word tradition. And there are various arrangements you find in these depictions of the merit field. Some are arranged this way, others that way. This one, derived from Manjushri's own word, is one variety.
제가 소신 표현이 강하시에 차를 소신 생애디 공부이나 아니 아주 스쿨롱 수수고 아주 뒤주이나 스쿨롱 야고 마잖아 아니 harbatob에 길을 두고 말해서 왔다. 단다 소신 공부할 때는 소신이 신기 돌아 때네. 아니 다 그놈 마주나야 대부사지 법에 길을 들어요 봐. 배운데 인가도 대시 접사진 맞으나 되게 배운데요. 그래서
So these merit fields are very potent, as I've already now described for you, in the sense that though we always say that above all, intention is critical. We have this scenario too, based on the merit field, where a person's intention may be inadequate. Nevertheless, by the force of the merit field, the results conferred through the force of the merit field on that person, yet with an inadequate intention, are still sublime.
아주 지금 나로바게 그것이 좀제 수수 소는 제부제비야 되게 깔리는 좀제 지금 메라로바 그것이 구 근데 그것이 구 아주 그것이 좀제도 구자고 말해서 소신 제는 또 어디를 제요 이제는 아주 콘질을 손은 쳐라서
The great Mahasiddha's Naropa faced 18 challenges in his practice in reliance upon his spiritual mentor. 18 adversities that included his very own death. And Milarepa in his practice faced 11 of these adversities, hostilities to his practice. We find ourselves in a situation where we may rely upon the force of the merit field and are comparatively fortunate.
일단 아주 배 기부 땅에 소돔 사연에 다들 신경도 가지고 민도 아니 나한테 배 이제 교거리셔 삼삼 땅나 아니 수수 너를 했어요. 단다 수수 소남 첨부 이상 가고 병원에 전에 되게 거리 첨부 못해 라마 군조 거리 좀 거리 삼 아니 수수 냠내 책이나 아니 수수비 교와 또 첨부 사바데 제마 수수를 대부 냥아요와 냠드는 되게 누가 첨부요. 제가 냠내냐고 싶어요.
The tendency we may have to be self-demeaning, deprecating, to imagine ourselves to not possess what is required for success in practice is a mistaken one. In actuality, we have all that is required, and we have it by the kindness of the supreme and the sacred of the triple gem. By their kindness, we have all that is required. So any self-demeaning spirit may be put away, and one may practice in earnest and is certain to find and experience the results of this practice.
이런 것도 치료 남신이 야고도 아니지 담지기 되지기 말아도 하게 치료를 아니 로팀베기 세요 저는 세디치 아니 스텔 롱치 아니 사메기 대와 총 아니 배 셈나가 아니 하게 다 더고 여와서 다서 트워틀린 체 어떻게 고급상 어디 배제 나와 나서
At this moment, we have outside undefiled, uncontaminated nectar, which we may consume, and we may employ the resources there in the best way possible, just as we have eliminated doubts through question and answer. So use all that may be used, all that may be consumed to confer the most excellent result. So that the lesson drawn from the exposition of the Dharma, apply it as you cogitate as we eat, and then experience the results inwardly in your mind.
Yeah, interesting.
Oh yeah, and auspicious goodness to you.
Yeah.